Have you ever looked at Pantheon and just been like, wow, that's a cool roller coaster. I wish I could make that. And you go into No Limits, you make a cool layout. Ooh, wow, that's really cool. And then you're like, man, how do I make a switch track? And you look at this special track over here. It's like, ooh, there's some switch tracks. Let's do this. You put it there, and it looks flat. Looks like it has a lot of laterals, right? You want to make it bank a little bit, but you can't do that. So if you go here, oh no, I can't do anything, right? So I could change the track profiling, but you can't do that either. Only thing you could do is move it around and do some stuff, but none of the cool stuff, right? You can't make it look any better. You can't make it ride any better. You can't change the dimensions at all, right? There's a solution to this. All right, so we're here in my park. There's a roller coaster, and it has a switch track. Ooh, look at it. Look, the train's gonna go. Watch, watch. Wow, it goes through. And guess what? It's switching real time. No visual effects. Well, I guess visual effects, sure, but no editing post roller coaster, right? This is how this actually looks in game, right? So you look at it, it's gonna go the other way. Wow, look at that. It works. It's a switch track that works. That's crazy. I thought you said it was impossible, but it is possible. Just a little harder than you'd expect. So this is what I would like to call a real switch track. Or let me be real with you. It's a fake switch track. It doesn't actually look like this. So if we go into the editor, right, we can see that this is just a piece of scenery. It doesn't actually look like a switch track. If we unfreeze it and we get rid of everything except for the wireframe track, you can see that it's just this section of track funnels into this transfer table, right? Let me do this so you can see a bit better. This track funnels into this transfer table, and then it switches while the train is still on the transfer table. Then it goes out, leaves, goes around, goes back down, goes through this bit, and then boom, it's on the reverse trip, right? So how is it able to do that? Well, this is enabled to zero point 0.1 seconds of switch time, so it's really fast. It just switches in that time, I guess. So basically, it goes in, switches, goes out, comes back, goes up and around, and then transfer table switches back to its original position, and boom, voila. But that doesn't look like a switch track, so how did I make the effect? Well, as you saw earlier, it was a piece of scenery. This is made in Blender. So in No Limits, I think you will need the professional edition for this because I tried to use the spline exporter online that you can find in places, I guess, but I found that it doesn't work too well. It messes with the spline in Blender. So for me, I would just use a professional. But yeah. All right. So once we're in Blender, you're just going to go up to File. You're going to open New, General, and then once you're here, you're going to get rid of everything that's already in the scene. Just press delete or X, and then boom, you have a new scene. So basics of Blender, for movement, hold the middle mouse button and drag it. If you want to pan, you can hold shift and then hold the middle mouse button and drag it. Then you should be moving all over the place. Those are the two basic ones you need. But if you don't know how to use Blender, I would definitely suggest searching up a tutorial. But if not, then we're going to start. So go to Edit, go to Preferences, and make sure you have this installed. This is the NoLimits 2 Professional Track Data.csv importer thing. So it's under Add-ons. If you don't have it, it's in the link in the description. You're going to go up here. You're going to press Add-on Settings, Install from Disk. You're going to navigate to wherever you downloaded it. You're going to click on it. You're going to press Install from Disk, and then boom, you should have it here. Make sure it's checked off. And then from there, we're going to go to File. We're going to import the professional track data for the coaster that you exported it from. Then you're going to find where it is. Mine's right here. So I'm going to double click. It's going to come in here. So important thing when we shift from Blender or No Limits to Blender, the Z-axis is inverted. So we're going to flip this 180 degrees. Just go in here and type 180 under the little orange square object properties here under the track. Just do that, rotate it 180 degrees, click Control A, and then apply the rotation. This just makes it so that nothing weird happens later on when we want to add stuff to it. So once you have that, There's another link in the description with a piece of track. You can import that by clicking append, and then locating the track wherever you put that. I put it here. Go to object, then go to bolt. Once we're here, once you have the track imported and stuff, we're going to go here, press the little wrench icon, go to add modifier, search, and then you're going to do array modifier. It just makes a bunch of copies of the thing, and then after that, you're going to go to curve. That's just makes the array fit a curve. It's really important, the order of these things. If you change the order, then it changes how it functions, so don't change the order. You're going to go to curve object, you're going to select the track front, and then boom, it should be attached to your track. Now it's a little facing the wrong direction. So you're going to go here to your cross tie. You're going to rotate it around the z-axis, probably about 90 degrees. Yeah. So once it's rotated, you can apply that by holding Control A and applying the rotation. And now it looks like it's going the right direction. So you're going to hold this, go to X to move the track, or around the track spline, mouthful there. But this array modifier, this thing, the count alters how long the track extends. That can extend the whole way through or a little bit of the way through. And this factor alters the distance between each track segment. So X direction, Y direction, Z direction for each count of track, I guess. You're going to want to set all of them to 0 except for the one that you're using. For this specific case, it's X. And the reason why I put it as 0.99 over there is because if you zoom in really fast, or if you zoom in really far, you can see that there's a little, I don't know what to call it, little gap in the rails. Maybe not a gap, but you can see clearly that, right? So you want to set it to a lower value than 1, and then it will go away. If it's greater, then it will put more distance between each individual segment, and if it's less, then it will put less. So once you got that all sorted out, you're going to have a track. Woohoo. All right. But if you want to make the entire track in Blender, you're going to run into a problem whenever the track decides to invert. So you're going to look over here, and you're going to see this anomaly right here, right? So the only way I've found to fix this is if you highlight the curve itself, then you press Tab. This takes you into edit mode, and you can edit stuff in here. This works on any object, but you can only do one at a time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to highlight everything after the anomaly. You can hold shift to highlight multiple things, but you're just going to highlight everything until you reach the next anomaly or the end of the track. I'm not going to do it here because that's a lot of work. But then you're going to hold Control T, or you can right click and press tilt. So from here, you're going to tilt it a random amount. It doesn't really matter right now, but you're going to not touch anything after you do that, and you're going to go down here to tilt. From here, you're going to click angle. You're going to type in 360. That should fix it a bit. So it's not going to be as bad as it was. So from here, you're going to manually tilt each and every one using Control T until you're satisfied. If you don't have enough precision, you can always click 2, right click, and click subdivide up here. And now you have more things to tilt and more control over where it goes. It will still be a little bit deformed, and that's where you need to actually kind of use modeling techniques to solve problems. But yeah, so that's a thing that happens. But yeah, all right. So now that you have your track segment, we're not going to worry about the deformation since we're only doing the switch track here. So let me do a couple things. Let me highlight this. Make sure you leave edit mode as well after you're done, because then you can't highlight anything if you're in edit mode. So we're going to lower this, and then we're going to move this track all the way through the layout so that we can have it at the right position. So once it's here, right about there. By the way, if you want to move to an object, instead of navigating like this, you can press the period button on your number pad, and it will bring you and center you right around your object. So you can alter this however you'd like, make it as long or as short as you want, and then boom, you have your switch track right here. So you have one part of your switch track, right? Now you want to do the other side. So go to File, go to Import, and then do your other section of track. I find it easiest to get this from NoLimits into Blender if you, let me think. Yeah, if you export the track, the actual coaster into another file and then delete all the other sections of the coaster that you don't want to import, because sometimes it can be a little finicky with that transfer track. But we need to turn this spline around 180 degrees. Don't forget to apply the rotation with Control A, and then apply, boom, 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 we got it. All right, now the track back, it's right there. So we're going to copy and paste this whole item. Copy, paste, delete the extra spline that it created, and we're going to rename it to whatever our heart desires. Back. All right, so it's back. The dimensions are going to be all messed up, so we set that to 0. And make sure that you select the correct curve, and then it should be right there. Right, we see it. We're going to move it around to where we want our switch track to be. And then voila, we have it right there. Now, if you want to move it, you can, you can think, well, we'll go to the X and we'll move it in the X direction because that's this axis. But oh wait, that moves it around the track. So we got to somehow unjoin the two while still keeping its shape. So how we do that is we're going to go to modifiers and we're going to apply the modifier. What this does, you're going to click on this drop down, you're going to press apply. This actually makes the geometry look like it does here. Here, it's kind of like a fake geometry, like it just makes it look like that in the viewport. But here, this is actually what that geometry looks like. So now you can move it around left, right, and now you have your switch track object. Woohoo. So yeah, now it's good to go and you can export it back into NoLimits. Before we do that though, I'm going to show you guys something else. So I'm going to undo all that and we're going to go back here. So you might have noticed when I first imported this, it looks a little wonky per se. Maybe just a little bit, right? That's because the track is perfectly vertical. So if we move it around, you see it gets less wonky the further we go down. But when you move it up, it kind of goes weird. So a way to solve this, at least the best way that I found, is to highlight the spline segment, press Tab, and then where it starts to be wonky, you're going to highlight all of it. Then you're going to press X to delete it. Delete the vertices. Then you're going to have this. You're going to be left with that. Press Tab again to exit. Then go to your track segments down there. You're going to move it back. And now, when you move it back, it's going to go in a straight line from where it left off. And now you can make it go wherever. You can make it as high as you want, as low as you want. It doesn't really matter, but now you have solved the problem. Woohoo. All right, so pretend we went back in time to where we had an actual switch track, right? Apply all the modifiers, right? And then we're here. So if you want to export it, you go to File, you go to Export, and then you press DE or DAE. Going to go to Geometry, going to press Apply Modifiers. That applies all the ones that we didn't apply here. You're going to go to wherever your coaster is or wherever you want to put it, and you're going to press Export. All right, so once we're in NoLimits, you shouldn't have any of this here, but you can go to Scenery, choose, and then down here you're going to press DAE. You're going to navigate to wherever you have your track. I have it right here as a DAE file. You're going to name it, and then mine says it already exists, but yours shouldn't. You're going to go to Add Object. Then it's going to appear somewhere. I don't know where that one appeared, but if we go to Show Overview, we can look for it. Mine should be right here. If you click on it, it will highlight it. It's hiding in the trees, I see. But you're going to double click. You're going to go 0, 0, 0. Then it should go to wherever your spline wants it to go. Mine is down here since I moved the coaster up after I made this. But if it's not perfectly aligned, you can align it however you like. I already have mine made, so I'm going to delete that. But once you're here, you have a stationary switch track. Woohoo. That's step 1. All right, so now you're going to need to do some scripting. There is a way to do this without any scripting. You can download a little block that is like here, and then it links the switch track to another switch track that you have hidden off somewhere. And whenever that switch track moves, this one moves as well. I won't show that in this video, but I'll put a link to a document that explains it a lot better. I'll put a link to a document that explains this whole process without any code. But if you want to code it, then that's where VS Code or your IDE of choice comes in. So the file or I guess the language that NoLimits uses is essentially Java. It is Java. There's no hiding it. It is Java. You're going to go to scripting API if you don't know the classes, because the classes are really helpful to know. I mean, you kind of need to know them, whichever ones you want to use. But yeah. So they have a huge documentation on all the coding language, so you can find a bunch of stuff here. But yeah, so you're going to open your IDE of choice, and you're going to start there. All right, so we're here in our IDE of choice. I chose VS Code because I like it, but you're going to name your file whatever you want to name it, .nlvm, and you're going to import com.nolimitscoaster, all that, right? Basically, just copy and paste this, and you're going to make a script, public class block script. It extends the script type and it implements a track trigger listener. That's for something later on. So just quick run through. I'm not going to explain all of it, but you're going to have a reference to your coaster. It's type coaster, variable name, whatever you want to name it. You don't actually need this. This is going to reference the sections of the track, but once you do all that, you can kind of take a look, slow it down if you care. But you're going to go. So all this is basically, how do I say it? This is all block logic, right? So if you want to see how to do block logic, then you can, I guess, take a look at it. The online forums are super helpful when learning. This took me probably close to 20 hours, but if you want to debug, you can just print stuff out to the terminal, and then when you run your code, it will show you any problems that you have with it. But in order to do the actual animation, which is the part that I will be teaching, you need to have this function or method. It's going to be public, return nothing, on next frame, um, float tick. Yep. So this is going to run every single frame. If you have a faster frame rate, sometimes it will do less, or if you have a slower one, it will do multiple times per frame. But basically, I have this variable if the switch track has been left. So if you go up here, so I have a trigger on the train leaving the trigger. So it takes in a trigger type and a train. If that trigger is, where is it? Is the switch track entered? I switched the directions. I made that function. If we go up here, I don't know where it is. Oh, I guess that's not. Hold on. Yeah, no. That's just a built-in function from the NoLimits class. But it basically takes in a number that's the switch track position. So that's for the actual switch track itself and not the custom one that we made, or I guess transfer table. But then I turn off the brakes, print out something, and then I do that. Right, so if we're down here, see if I can find what I was looking for. We have switch left, which is right here. So I mark that as true when the second block is unoccupied and the trigger that has been triggered by this function is that switch entered, right? So we're going to go down here. On every frame it checks if this is true. If it is, then if the switch position, that's the position of the custom switch track that we made. If it's less than or equal to the target position that you can set on your own to set where you want the switch track to end up. If you want to figure that out, you can go into NoLimits. Let me open that up real quick. go to NoLimits, if you want to open your coaster, and you want to kind of mess around with the switch track where it wants to be, right? Where you want it to be, I guess. Okay, so once we're here, you're going to kind of mess around with your switch track. So if this is going to be the initial position, you're going to want to mess around, see if you can get it to that final position. Maybe mess with the other axis too if it's not perfectly lined up. Once you got it to a satisfactory point for the second position, you're going to take note of this right here, this position right here. So you're going to put that in this variable all the way up in your initializing stage. Make it a double or a float, either one should be fine. But you're going to come back here, and that's going to be, if the position actively is not that, then you're going to, or if it is less than, you're going to print, you're going to, or hold on, it's less than or equal to. Oh yeah, because the x position is negative, so it should be arriving in the negative direction. If it's less than it or equal to, then that means that it's done switching, and I stop the switch left. I make it false, and then it doesn't go through any of this. But if it's not, then switch position plus equals switch target position x, that's the target position, divided by 360. This number can change depending on how many frames you want your switch to take. I did this because that's a reasonable speed, and then if it's moving in the z direction as well, you can do the same thing here. But yeah, so once you're done, you increase the variables for the position, and then you get a reference to your switch object. The reference should be way up here. Yeah, switch object, sim dot get scene object, switch object. This should be the name, the exact name of your switch track. See, in NoLimits, it's named switch object exactly the same way it is here. So once you have a reference to that, you're going to set the translation. It takes in, I believe it is doubles, maybe, probably. Yeah, but it takes in some position for x, y, and z. For the y position, if it doesn't change, I just put it up here as 10 as a constant, and it doesn't change, so it's not going to move any bit vertically. And then, yeah, so that handles the code for when it's switching. If it needs to be reset, so if the next block has been left and the switch track is in the wrong position, if it's less than what it is initially, which should be 0, if you did it correctly, if you go here 0, 0, that's its initial position because that's how you did it in Blender. I moved the track up a bit, so that's why it's 10 meters there. But you're gonna kind of do this same thing, basically. You're gonna decrement the positions, and then you're gonna do that. And then boom, it should leave you with a working animation for this. If you want to make the launch directions for the launches change as well, you're also going to need to do some scripting. I will not get into that, but I'll drop this code in the description if you want a reference for what you're doing. It won't work on your coaster, but it will work as a guide, I suppose. But yeah, once you have all that said and done, if you want to do the entire track in Blender, you're going to just import that in. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And just a minor thing that I left off earlier in the video. If you want to change the color of the track, you can go down here to materials, this little red ball, and you can change it here. Little disclaimer, none of the metallic roughness, none of that stuff will come in through the through NoLimits. So it's just going to take in the color. If you want to see it in the editor, you go up here. If you're here, which you should be by default, you won't see anything. Ooh, that's scary. Hold on. You won't see anything. You'll just see this. It's a flat color. But if you go here, you'll see what it looks like with lighting. If you go here, you'll see what it looks like with the lighting that's in the scene, which there is none. So it's all black. But yeah, if you click up here, you'll see what it looks like. And you can change the color to whatever you want. Ooh, rainbow, woohoo. Okay, but yeah. And once you got that, you can go into NoLimits, open your coaster, import all the stuff, do all the things, and yeah. All right, so now you have a switch track. Congratulations, you are one step closer to being that guy who made Pantheon. Woohoo! Look at that. You can do that now. It's so awesome.